This right here is a simple watermelon box that I got from a supermarket. They were going to toss this out and I decided to ask them for one so I can use it as a brooder box for my chickens. So I'm just going to open it up, make sure that it has all the little tabs there that I can put it together with. As you can see in the bottom, I just showed you that there are some slits in the cardboard that you can fit into place, and it has a bottom. Not a full bottom, but at least you have the four corners. So I'm going to go around and put the corners in place. I'm just going to fit it in the slits, and so that I would have the corners put together, and I'll take it right into the chicken coop. Now that that's done, I'm going to go open up the door of the chicken coop so I can have access to get in there with the box because it's very bulky. It's not heavy, but it's just bulky and it's a little bit challenging to maneuver, especially if you have to put it in a smaller space or if you have to turn with it or so. So now I'm going to take this little brooder and I'm going to head to the chicken coop. The door is already propped open and I'm going to wiggle my way through this little space. Like I said, if it's a smaller space, the bulky box would be a challenge for you to squeeze through there with it. So now I'm going to put that up into the chicken coop. Try to keep the corners intact because I already put them together. And I'm just going to slide it right into the chicken coop. Now that I've placed the brooder box into the chicken coop, I'm going to head out to the shed and grab my pine shavings that I had there. I've stored that up since last year. And usually when I buy my pine shavings, I don't buy just what I need, because I know I always would need pine shavings if I'm always getting meat birds or if I'm, getting turkeys or so. So I always keep an extra pack of the pine shavings so when I get my birds, I won't have any issues if the store doesn't have it. So I just think ahead of the game for the times when I would need it and I'm not able to source it. And this is the pine shavings right here. I just grab it at Tractor Supply and I keep it stored up. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my waterer and my feeder for the birds when they get here. And it's just a simple waterer and I reuse it. I've had it for a while. This is my feeder. Eventually I'm going to put more than one waterer, or I'm going to upgrade it probably in about a week or so. And now that the brooder is in place, I'm going to put my pine shavings in there and set up my heat lamp for when I get that call from the post office. So the post office has just called me to get my birds and I'm heading to get them. So here we go. This is it. I'm delighted to get my chickens. I'm so excited. No lines. Alright, so here they are. My chickens. For the most part, they look good. Look at it, it's well packaged. Don't try to get out. We gotta go home first. And these are my turkeys in here. Look at them peeking. They are all active, it seems. And I'm gonna head home and get them to some heat and some water. Here we are, you're home. This is where your short stay is gonna be. And I'm going to come in here real quick and close the door behind me because I want to maintain the heat. We are at 65 degrees in here. I probably would just put another heat lamp on the other side. Yeah, it doesn't feel too warm down here, so I'll just throw in another heat lamp just to make sure they're getting adequate heat. This right here is some chick grit that I have to give to the chickens and to the turkeys because they're not outdoors pecking around. My pine shaving, I'm going to put my feed right there. So I have all my supplies in here whenever I come into the coop to take care of the chickens. This is the feed right here, my organic chick starter. And it's 20% protein. So I'll just keep this in here and I'm able to have all my supplies right here with me that I can take care of the chickens adequately. Look at it, these are just the crumbles. And while I'm doing all this, the chickens are in the brooder box and I usually sit them for about a half an hour just so that they can get acclimated to the temperature in there before I actually take them out of the box. So I'm just here preparing them and doing other things. I'm filling their feed. Their water is already in there. And I usually fill up the little feeder like this. I fill the bottom first and then I fill the container. So that way, let me show you. I'm going to fill a container like this. And then the bottom is already filled. So when I turn the container over and I put it onto the bottom part to screw it in, the feed does not go all the way down and fill up the feeder because it's already filled. So I just usually hold it like this. I put it over the bag, the feed bag. And I just hold the bottom like this. It's already filled in. And I turn it over into the feeder like so. It's very easy. And I do this all the time. It's just my little cheat method of filling the container with feed for a longer period of time. That way I won't have to come out more often to feed the chickens. So see that? The feed is filled up in the bottom and the container is filled all the way up. There you go. So I'm just going to drop that in the brooder box. And now they have their feed for when they're ready. The water is already filled. I have the brown sugar in it. It's going to dissolve. And they can sip on that and get a little energy. Some people put molasses. I used molasses years ago. But I find it doesn't make a difference if you use the brown sugar. It has the same effect. They get a little energy from that and it boosts them and they do very well. So all I use now is brown sugar because my family uses brown sugar and that's what I have. So I don't try to go out there and buy molasses just for the chicken. We're going to use what we have and it works. So now the exciting part. Now the chickens have been sitting in the brooder for about a half hour or so. I am just going to open it up to check on them. They have been acclimated to the weather in the coop and in the brooder box. So I'm going to open it up with this box cutter. They look vibrant for the most part. They're curious. Look at them. Aren't they cute? And I have 25 of them here. They're properly packed. And this batch, I got it from Hoover's Hatchery. I usually order it online. And that's because I am able to omit the coccidosis and the Merrick's disease shot that they would get. You have the option, but I believe when they are already out in the stores in Tractor Supply, they have already been vaccinated. So hence the reason I go directly to the hatchery and I order my chickens and they come straight to me without being vaccinated. All right, so this right here, I'm going to show you real quick, is the egg tooth on the chicken's beak. And that's what they use to break the eggshell to come out when they're being hatched. And that's going to fall off in a few days. Within a week, it's going to fall off. So those are the chickens. Now this is my turkeys. Here they are. Let's see. And turkeys need a lot more care than chickens. If you've had experience with 2-day-old turkeys or newly hatched turkeys, you would understand what I'm saying, because they are very fragile and you have to take very good care of them. And this is the reason why. Look at it, how it's shaking. They're very, very fragile. So I think I am going to have to put extra heat in there just to make sure that they stay, safe. I don't get nervous about it because sometimes I do expect, it depends on how I see them when they arrive, and I don't get nervous about it at all because I know when to expect to lose one or two. It depends on the time of the year I receive it. And if it's cooler out, if it's freezing out, I expect to lose a few within a couple of days, because during travel, they have a hard time. Look at them already in the water. There we go. So I'm just going to dip their beaks like I always do to show them what to do. But as you can see, they're getting it on their own. I don't actually have to do it for them. Sometimes you do when they're struggling or when they're too weak, because I don't always get them within 48 hours and they take a longer time in shipping. And so they're weaker, and I just have to make sure that I actually dip their beaks in there so they can get some of that sugar water, and their survival rate would be higher. These turkeys, I am going to actually dip all of their beaks in the water to make sure that they get a little sugar. Like I said, they're very fragile, and I want to make sure that I can save as many as I possibly can once they're in my care. The chickens looks okay and they're moving around really strongly, but look at these turkeys. Look at this one in the corner. And this is how she arrived. So I'm going to pay more attention to the turkeys for now, and I'm going to make sure they get some of that sugar water. And this is not hurting them. This is just how you do it. They're going to probably pull away. It's going to look like I'm hurting it, but no, I'm not hurting the turkey. I just want to make sure that she gets sufficient energy there from that sugar water. Now right here, I'm just going to show you that I cut the cardboard of that brooder and I put the heat lamp a little bit lower so that way the heat is closer to the base of the brooder box. And I still have the thermostat in there to check the temperature to make sure it doesn't get too hot, or to make sure that it's adequately warm. And the chickens are moving around. They're doing well. And this is the day after they arrived. The turkeys are doing okay, but I'm keeping my eyes on a couple of them. And I keep checking them periodically to make sure that they're getting stronger, making sure that they have adequate heat right here in the brooder box. Make sure they have clean water and they're starting to peck around and eat and showing natural chicken behaviors. Look at them. They're cuddled there under the heat lamp. And it's good that I was able to put that heat lamp a little bit closer to the base so that they can get adequate heat. Now the thermostat is at the farthest end of the brooder box, and that's because I want to make sure I monitor what the coolest part of the brooder box is. And I'm not worried about the heat, because if it gets too hot there, they'll gravitate to the cooler end of the box. So then that will tell me if I need to raise the heat lamp a little bit higher, or if I need to add another heat lamp for extra heat, because it's still winter, guys, and I usually don't get my birds this early, but because the weather has been so mild, I took advantage of it and I ordered my birds, and I was able to get them in earlier than I normally would. They have their fresh water here. There's no sugar in here today. They look much stronger. The thermometer is in the far end of the box right here. And they're enjoying their space. Stay tuned for part 3. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Fifi's Journey.